Welcome to Flash Frights. You're listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast. Flash Frights. Welcome to the Fan2Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bernie Gonzalez. With me, as always, fellow co-host Pete Charbonneau. And Pete, in the world of horror films, there are certain staples, certain guarantees. And if you're going down the video store aisle or going through the thumbnails on your streaming service of choice, you'll probably see that there are a few, nay, quite a few horror movies that happen to have the word night in the title. Let me see some classics or even cult classics that I can think of off the top of my head. Night of the Living Dead, Night of the Comet, Nightbreed, Night of the Demons, Night of the Creeps, of course, always happens to thrill me. Night Warning, aka Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, but hey, for our purposes here, let's just go ahead and call it Night Warning. Night Beast, Night Terror, Night of the Bloody Apes. There are quite a few of them. And of course, the classic, the infamous Night of the Lepus about giant killer rabbits.
Well, Bernie, once again, you've got your finger on the pulse of all things, of my viewing habits. And I did, in fact, very recently watch one of those aforementioned night movies. It's called Night Killer.
Virginia Beach Police Department. Officer Gabrielle here.
I just got a phone call from a guy spying on me.
Was it an obscene phone call?
Yes?
Did he threaten you?
Yes.
The poor woman will never be the same again. She doesn't remember anybody or anything.
All of the victims were raped before they were tortured, mutilated, and killed by the masked maniac.
Would you be surprised, Bernie, to know that not a single kill in this movie takes place at night? There's not a single scene that takes place after dark.
That's disconcerting, Pete. So you're telling me that the night killer has no night? Next thing you know, Pete, you'll tell me it has no killer.
It does have a killer. It does have that. I'll pose another question to you. Have you ever watched a movie that you really went in really not knowing much about because you kind of just stumbled upon it? You're like, oh, horror slasher movie, late 80s. Never heard of this before. Let's see how it stacks up to all the other ones I've seen. And then as you get to the end of it and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? But then you do a little research and you're like, now it makes total sense. You ever had that experience before, Bernie?
I think just about every night when I jump into the old Tubi, Pluto, roulette machine.
I feel tremendous guilt on one level because I started watching this and I got about 5 minutes in. This is like a low budget, late 80s slasher, and this has the potential to be stupid so bad it's good. Let me get in touch with fan of the podcast, John Zemsky. Like, John, I think I got one. And he was on board. And so not only did I subject myself to the rest of this movie, I subjected him to it. And that's where the guilt comes in because I really feel, I feel bad that I stopped it 5 minutes in without giving it a little more time. Because had I done that, I might have been able to spare John a night of watching it. But that did not happen. So I teased at the beginning, like, once you got done, you do a little research and you figure out that it makes sense. So when I got done, I looked this movie up and found out that it was directed by Claudio Fragasso, Italian name. We've talked Italian cinema before with Nick Dyack.
I'm very well aware of his work. He actually wrote Zombie 3. He directed After Death, which is another zombie film. And yeah, Fragasso, kind of Bruno Mattei, you kind of put those guys together in the same group picture.
He's involved in this too.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, you left out what maybe Claudio Fragasso might be most known for to American audiences, and that is Troll 2. The puzzle pieces are now falling neatly into place. So you saw the cover, which has like this kind of like weird, creepy looking figure and a woman screaming. I think that's probably the cover that you saw.
And it has that amazing airbrush texture that we could not have gone past without picking up the box art for in a mom and pop VHS store.
Right. Yeah.
You see that thumbnail, you click on the thumbnail.
Yes. Known as I believe in Italy, movie is known as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which we've talked about again before. The Italians love to do this. They love to take movies and then put titles on it that are sequels to like classic movies that have nothing to do with those prior movies. So it was done with this one again. So I'll say I got through 5 minutes, and this is why I told John he needed to watch it, because it starts out as every other slasher movie that you would think. There's an acting troupe. Actually, they're a dance troupe, and they're on stage, and they're practicing a routine. It's completely bonkers. The woman that's kind of choreographing it is at her wit's end because they keep getting stuff wrong. A woman shows up late. She gets yelled at. And she's like, okay, well, let me just get changed. I got stuck in traffic. Let me get changed and I'll join the dance troupe. I'm like, okay. I'm like, already this is kind of goofy. I'm like, I'm on board. Where's this going to go? The woman that shows up late is in the dressing room, gets attacked by the killer, who's wearing a mask and has a glove that has like these long, but it's rubber, and you can tell it's rubber fingernails. Clearly trying to rip off or at least capitalize on Freddy Krueger with the look. Shoves the hand through this woman's stomach and out the other side. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. The choreographer stumbles upon this in action. She gets her throat slashed by the rubber glove finger. And there's a whole scene of the killer stalking her back into the theater where she's up in the balcony. And then she ends up doing a forward somersault off, lands at the feet, and then the dance troupe like stops. And then we cut to another scene. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be really, really dumb. This is going to be great. I find out later, this is one of the scenes that was tacked on by Bruno Mattei.
Oh.
Producers got their hands on the finished product from Claudio Fragasso and were like, yeah, we don't really like what you've done here. We need to do some reshoots. This needs some more kills, some more gore. Bruno Mattei, you come in, you shoot this stuff. Claudio Fragasso was not very happy with this. In fact, apparently he and Bruno Mattei got into an argument and perhaps ended their friendship over this.
I don't have anything to say to you except don't call me anymore!
But it makes sense because the rest of the movie doesn't make any sense, because the movie that Fragasso was trying to make, I wouldn't call it a giallo, but it's definitely more leans towards that of like psychosexual horror type thing. It starts revolving around this woman who is attacked by the killer. And then because she survives and the attack was so vicious, she has amnesia. Her marriage is on the rock. She's got a daughter. And so now it's her trauma of what happened from that attack. But meanwhile, the killer or a killer is still killing people out there. And so you've got like these two different things going on. She meets this guy who just like pulls up alongside her as she's driving. Is like, hey, baby, I got to pick you up.
Hey, honey, sweetheart! Woo! Woo! Hey, sweetheart! Gonna wet your whistle?
Follows her into a clinic, tries to follow her into the women's restroom. She pulls a gun on him, makes him strip down to his blue nut huggers and throws his clothes in the toilet.
What's with the gun? Anybody can make a mistake.
What do you want from me? You always try to make friends in the ladies' bathroom? All right, take off your pants.
My pants?
Uh-huh. And your socks and your shoes. And now, your career's over.
Okay.
Throw them in the toilet.
What?
Do it! Now flush it.
Flush it?
Flush it!
She then goes to the beach, sets up a nice picnic with several bottles of pills and barbiturates and tries to kill herself. The half-naked guy follows her to the beach, forces her into the ocean to drink salt water to throw up all the pills she's just taken. You're like, okay, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? And then takes her back to his place and basically entraps her in his motel. This is all fucking weird. This guy's delivery of dialogue, which is worth the price of admission alone. He has a whole monologue about fried chicken while she's like half naked, pulling a gun on him again. It goes off the rails quickly. It never gets back on.
Fried chicken and French fries.
I'm gonna eat.
Fuck
Is this like one of the many, I think they're called like Tower of Babel films, where you have actors who speak all types of languages and they're essentially all being dubbed? Or is this all Italian actors?
Definitely English American actors, but it has a very, if you've seen Troll 2, like that's got like a certain feel to it. It's not Troll 2, but I would say it's closer to something like Ghost House.
Oh, interesting.
It kind of feels dreamlike in some points, and I think by design, because he's trying to make this like weird film, but then because the producers got involved and Bruno Mattei got involved, they tried to like pull something together that was really, I don't think, ever meant to be pulled together. And so I'm not going to spoil it for anyone that wants to watch it, but if you can't pick out who the killer is from like the like literally from the get-go, I mean, this one is like teed up for you nicely. I don't think I've ever experienced a hornier killer before, because that's actually his lines of dialogue. There's like a scene that is basically out of like When a Stranger Calls or He Knows You're Alone, where our main character's on the phone and she's like, I just got an obscene phone call. She calls the cops, and the cop's like, I'm going to call you back in 5 minutes. And she calls back. She gets a call back sooner of someone that she thinks are the police, but it turns out it's the killer who's already in her home. Shows up, he's got the mask on, and she's like, he says something along the lines of like, I can't wait, I'm too horny. What the hell? John and I many times like, what the fuck are we watching?
No cussing.
You know, starts out run-of-the-mill 80s slasher, goes into like Italian psychosexual area, and then it tries to like bring it back around at the end, complete with like, oh, just when you think it's over, here's our little stinger ending that, again, not only is it telegraphed, gets shot in slow motion, so you're just kind of like, we know what's coming, just get to it. Like, can you just remove the slow motion so that we can get to it faster? Please, get to it faster.
It's the only way we get to 89 minutes, Pete. We've got to stretch out the slow motion just a few more minutes.
Man, the whole fixing, like with the added scenes, like it changes the tone so much. It was already like 8,000 times more confusing than it needed to be, and that just like added like another 50 times more confusing on top of it. So the only guessing you're doing is like, what the hell is going on here? I will say there's like this weird dynamic between like one of the detectives and like forensic psychiatrist who's kind of like, we've got to cure her of her trauma, but we also have to like trap the killer, and maybe there's some way that we can use her to trap the killer. They're like older gentlemen, and they show up in one scene and then they disappear for, I'd say, a good solid act. And you're like, are these guys coming back? And then they do. And I feel like buried deep within this movie is a wacky buddy detective psychiatrist movie with these two knucklehead actors doing their thing. But we don't get that. We just get Night Killer that does not take place at night.
From what you said, two very different films. There's a giallo is closer to crime thrillers, but like to your point, also have that psychosexual aspect to it that I think gives them that little bit of extra sleaze in some ways if they're exploitative. And it seems like this movie, Fragasso intended to be more of a giallo, and then the producers brought in Mattei to say, oh, no, this is basically a sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even if not in any official capacity whatsoever.
No chainsaws used.
Of course
in this
not.
movie.
And it's not, but it's enough to have what you meant, like Ghost House. You mean Evil Dead 3? Because that's kind of what it feels like to us. These guys were trying to skirting that line with some Nightmare on Elm Street iconography in there, or attempt of with the claw.
Iconography, yes, but yeah, that's about as far as it went. It was, they were really just trying to pull like a general idea of like Freddy Krueger and be like, oh, we're just going to give him one rubber glove with like long fingernails and like a creepy mask that looks like a burn victim, but not really. It's like kind of like a demon mask. That's the killer's look.
So at least that was part of the initial intention for the killer's look. And then Mattei just did the Spinal Tap and turned it to 211 where he was brought in.
Let's throw something at the beginning with this dance troupe. Let's throw another scene with a blonde marine biologist that literally was shot at an aquarium. In the scheme of the movie, makes no sense. It's just another random, like, we need to kill someone, so let's just do this. I'm just going to throw out the spoiler alert here in case anyone wants to see this and not have the ending spoiled, but the ending of this movie the characters do such a disservice to this woman who has experienced like incredible trauma that you're like left shaking your head of like, one, what character, what human would ever do this? Two, I think Fragasso like wrote the screenplay. I'm like, what the hell is this guy thinking? So the guy that kidnaps the woman and has her captive in his motel room saying, I'm going to kill you at some point, but I'll kill you when I want, like literally sticks the gun in her mouth at one point, which is empty, pulls the trigger, violates her sexually, all these things. This guy is the woman's husband. And he has the plan with the psychologist that he's going to do this so that she faces her trauma and overcomes her amnesia of the attack that happened to her.
Therapy 101, Pete. I don't know why you find any fault with this.
That's on me. That's my bias.
Just saying.
That's my bias. It's
okay.
Like incredulous at this.